with another Gaming Roundtable, episode 56 of Season 2. As you can see on the screen, I am playing some Agents of Mayhem, and I'm going to give a little bit of some thoughts on how I feel about the game. And I've been playing it on and off, usually dividing my time between this and Destiny 2, which has been a really fun experience. And Agents of Mayhem is actually a game that I find myself really enjoying playing. Just because of its, because Volition, the creators of Saints Row, this takes place in the same universe. Although it feels very, very different from Saints Row in many ways. And it is an open world game that takes place in Seoul. And I am playing as Daisy, one of the 3 agents that I have currently in my team. This is Jewel, and she has like a laser rifle style weapon. Liberty has a minigun, and of course then there's Hollywood, who is the starting characters you get. He's got an assault rifle. What is interesting about Agents of Mayhem is that it feels like a very big combination of several different games. It feels very similar to Crackdown with all the jumping and verticality that's in the game. Seoul may not be the biggest game world map, but because there's a lot of verticality, it's kind of nice. So you can get into these hard places. You find things, stuff like Recon Run, and you find these little side things that's very similar to Crackdown in that respect. Even to the cartoony look, even though it looks better than most. You also find these little core upgrades, which again is very similar to Crackdown, or even Saints Row 4, where you had to find the little blue balls, little blue data catches that would help you upgrade your character. Before I talk about the major positives of what I really like about the game, because it far outweighs the negatives, but this is the one thing I need to discuss. All the agents at first felt like I was playing the same agent in a way, except for weapons, until you notice there's very subtle differences between the two. Liberty, for example, everyone all has a triple jump. She can dash in the air and dash on the ground. She also has a standing melee attack and then a shoulder charge melee attack, which is reminiscent because she's a roller derby chick. And of course, then you go to Jewel, who only has one style of melee attack. She grabs her wrench, goes right back on her purse. I love that little touch. She jumps. Everyone's jump. Hers is a little fancy because she's a model and tech guru. She has a dash on the ground, but not in the air. And she can deploy a turret. She can dash back and forth, of course. Everyone else can dash again back and forth. And of course, there's Hollywood, who again triple jump, but he can jump pretty high, higher than some of the other agents. At least it feels that way, and he can dash forward and dash in midair for mobility. And he's got his assault rifle, which is nice. But one of the things I want to talk about when it comes to something that I feel is kind of a negative, Volition did the cardinal sin when you make an open world game. And while Seoul, South Korea, is beautiful, architecturally speaking, and it's just this really cool looking near futuristic city, the problem is it, just like Avalanche did with Just Cause 3, just like Rockstar has done with almost all of their games, when it comes to the open world, and this is a problem, is the fact that the game world itself, Seoul, may be really cool and vertical and large. It has no soul. Like, the people are there strictly as cannon fodder. There's no interacting with them. There's no buildings you can just go in and do side stuff in. Not like a Yakuza, or a place to order food or do anything along that lines. The focus of this game is clearly on the agents and not so much the game world itself, which is a shame because it kind of begs that this game should have more to it than that. You can steal people's cars, hit the radio, and left and right on your D-pad will change radio stations. There are no licensed tracks. That's a villain car I'm gonna have to destroy. Um, Bump it a few times and you'll destroy it essentially. Just trying to stop the vehicle. It's a little side things that pop up. There is a lot of side things like that in the game, but again, it suffers for having those problems. I also can call a car to me, my agent car. Character will jump in, the car stops, and then you go about your business with turbos, and there's a much better car to handle that. The cars handle really well, and you do a lot of missions where where part of the mission you're in a car. But again, the whole lifeless soul thing is what really bothers me. Like, none of these people, they just walk around. Like I said, they're nothing more but cannon fodder. They're not like a Watch Dogs 2, which is one of the most interactive. See, she just gave me the finger, and I can do this, but it's very rarely do they ever interact. Sometimes they'll attack you, but it's so rare. You can sit here all day long and just hit people down, and they'll go running, and there's just nothing to do in the city outside of what the game lets you do, which is like the side activities. And I'll show you on the city map. Let me zoom out here. These are all little things you can do. Tells you different kinds of rewards and guarantee rewards and what you might get and things like that. And it's just one of those things where I really wish they made the game. I wish they would make this game have more interaction with the city. That's where I think the game fails. Because Just Cause 3 is the same way. It's 400 square miles, but there's no interacting with the civilians. They're just cannon fodder. They occasionally say your name and stuff like that. And like Grand Theft Auto 5, which again is an amazing open world game, but there's not, outside of darts and a few other things. Again, it still feels like, even though it's a much more feels much more of a lived-in kind of feel. This game, though, does commit that cardinal sin, and the Saints Row games had the same problem, where you have this really awesome, cool city, and yes, I can go into these little buildings here, and I can go up and down and do different things, but there's nothing to do in them. There's nothing to do in them. There's no, there's just nothing. You just roam around, and yes, you can attack people, and you get, like, I guess what you call a meter that just popped up, the Legion alert level, and Legion will come attack you, and you can just, and there's no consequences. Even though you're the good guys, you can kill indiscriminately, and it doesn't matter. It's not like you're penalized for it. You can't knock those down to get money out of them. Even though you fight enemies, you get money when they drop it. So, that's probably one of the biggest letdowns of the game. But there is a lot of positives, and it took me a while to, once you start unlocking all the agents, to figure out the real subtle differences between them. Jewel, for example, let me show you with her. So if you're jumping onto something and you're on your third jump and you don't quite get up there, she does that, what you just saw there. She uses her turret to help boost her up, where the other characters don't do that. If I use Hollywood here, I'm against a wall, he won't grip it, he won't climb it or nothing, but certain characters will actually grab it with a knife or whatever they have on their character and boost themselves up. All the agents at first felt very similar, and then I realized that there was very subtle differences between them. And once I figured that out, I use Daisy a lot. I think she's a really well-rounded character. It's neat that she's on roller skates, has a minigun. Her mission board to unlock her was really fun, where she was like on this bender and drank a whole bunch and couldn't remember, and it was just, she's this rough and tough roller derby, and all she cares about is basically, in her words, basically fucking and fighting and drinking and having a good time. She's just an enjoyable character to play as, and it is fun to traverse through Seoul, though, because of the verticality and because it has that Crackdown-esque like feeling. Yes, as I said before, it takes place in the Saints Row universe, but it is not. It's just not. I don't know. It doesn't feel like that at all. Like, even though you do unlock Pierce, he's called Kingpin, and you do get Gat, and it's fun to play as Gat. Gat was from South Korea. That's his character origin in Saints Row, which is pretty cool. Like this guy here reacted because Hollywood's a famous guy.
Are you mad dogging me? Oh,
And
shit's
sometimes
about to get real.
when you taunt like that, your character won't even speak. Like just now, he didn't even say anything. He just did the motion, and that's a little glitch that they haven't patched yet. You also get a lot of upgrading and stuff. So, for example, I have this Gremlin tech. I can hit L1, and I can fire this beam cannon that I earned, which is just amazing. The particle effects in this game and the stuff you can do is really, really cool and a whole lot of fun and interesting to see. And the explosions when you fight enemies, they drop money, they drop items and inventory. For example, my inventory, you got Gremlin Tech that lets me to equip different styles, different kinds, that helps you out in battle. There's Legion Tech, which allows you to build certain things. So if I go to Gap, for example, and I want to build Cold Steel, I can build that and then equip it, and then it gives me cooldown reduced by 25%. So there is a robust leveling system for all the characters and different ways that you can create them and build them up. And it's kind of nice. My inventory here is filled with intel and cash and scrap and upgrade cords and all these blueprints for vehicles, and once you find different vehicle blueprints, it's nice because then you have different types of vehicles to get in and out of, and it's pretty neat to do that. So there is a whole lot of upgrading involved. There's your mission structure, which is agent operations. These are specific missions for one particular agent, and it shows you different rewards that you'll get. Then you have your main story missions. You have contracts, which is this online mode where you send your agents off to do stuff, and then they come back with rewards. And then here's a Legion Occupation mission. Then tasks, which is acquire a vehicle. These are side quests you can do, which is, again, it's pretty cool that you actually have so you have a lot in terms of what you can and cannot do. You can't change your team unless you go to the Ark first. And I'm going to go to the Ark to show you that. I have enjoyed the game. Like, the game has been really fun. Right now they're doing the little G.I. Joe style public service announcements. They're all comical, of course. And Mayhem is this is your main base or your hub. You can switch between characters even in the hub. Age of Mayhem is I've found to be a very fun game. You can purchase requisitions. You can collect cash from places that you unlocked. Transfer more cash. This is something you can do with certain missions that you unlock. Areas where you'll get more money. Kind of like the monthly thing you get in Saints Row for money. This is stuff I can unlock because my agent level is 17. Everything costs money, of course. And if you look here, you can upgrade different things. I like that aspect of the game. So it's actually pretty cool that you upgrade because your base upgrades and your character upgrades, which is pretty nice. There are character skins and different weapon skins. I'll show you those. Over here in your base is your vehicle bay. Lets you select what vehicle you like to use and the skins, how you want it to look. Over here, you cannot use your dash in the base. Is your rec room. It's a simulation which lets you earn rewards and things along that lines. And then over here, this is your Mayhem database, which you can unlock. You can look at the bios of your weapons. These are the base agents. You can't play as them. They just help you out, and kind of tells you their different abilities. If I hit new, you can go to relationships. No romance with the man with coat pants, although he does share a rivalry with Kingpin. You can watch their ancient intros, which are these animated style animation, kind of like how Battleborn did. This is kind of like a single player. It's definitely a single player. It's definitely a single player hero shooter. There is no multiplayer. It would have been fun if you could have done two other people could get online and you worked as a team. That would have made the game, I think, even better. But the game was very focused on that. And he has romantic design fortune, but feeling design not mutual. And you can actually have these romance options, which is kind of crazy. Agent abilities. Some of them actually have romance options. Some of them don't. Um, just depends on what it's about. And certain missions will come up where that actually comes into play to kind of flesh out um, your character. And that's just a little database to access there. This is Persephone's room. She used to be part of the villains, and now she's a good guy.
That sword was a gift from an old rival of mine. Of course, he did not know he gifted it to
And
me.
those are just little interactive cutscenes that you hear voiceover Persephone talking about where she got her items. It's just little bitty things. Age of Elephant's actually a really fun game, and I really dig. Here's Global Conflict, South Asia. I haven't got it unlocked. UV region. You can go to these different things, and it tells you your requirement. So if I hit this, I can send agents out, like I was showing you. So let me send Oni out, and he's going to investigate. And while he's gone, like he'll bring back things for you. It's a really neat little idea that it shows you, even though it takes place in Seoul, there is a conflict going on between you and Legion. I think that's a really neat thing. Of course, you go down to your where you want to warp into. This is where you select your agents. So Hollywood's level 10, Jules level 6, and so if I want to edit the squad, let's say I wanted to choose somebody else, like Yeti. You can do different skins. He has different weapon skins to use, like for example. And if you think about it, and a lot of this stuff is like, their skins are neat because they do have things that are kind of, I guess you could say, not on superhero stuff. So like Russian steel, for example, even though it's brown looking steel, he does have Colossus's colors, so he's basically trying to be Colossus. You got the Incredible Yeti, so definitely purple and green with the Hulk. And Thunder Beast Yellow Yeti, and he looks like Panthro from the Thundercats, which is where they get that from. Rock Monster Yeti. They didn't go orange, but if he did, he'd look like the Thing. And Canard Etoile is is his character, because they try to do a kind of superhero-esque with the symbols. But Canard Etoile is actually, if you put your group together, they have group bonuses, kind of similar to, you know, what's the game? Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Jewel, for example, if I pick her, select different skins of her, she has different weapon skins, of course. Like standard, bold fashion statement, you know, bombshells, physical freedom, and then malleable jewel. Because she's a model, they kind of have a play on Barbie. If I don't want to use Daisy anymore, for example, and I switch to Rama, who I do like playing, she's Eagle Eye, Asian skin. That's with the purple and the bow. That's a take on Hawkeye from the Marvel comics. You got Bomber Boat Avenging Arrows. That's again with the purple. That's kind of again Avenging as a Hawkeye. Starling Striker is green, and as you know, Starling City or Star City. That's again a take on Green Arrow. She even has a Green Arrow style costume. Virgin Vigilante, which is really cool that they did that. And I think that's neat because again, that's just a little nod on playing as this is just a little nod to Green Arrow and all the characters. If you select different characters, and you pick different people, there is different takes. I got a free skin with her, but for example, she actually got Mutant Enforcer, and it's very X-Men with the green, the yellow, and all that with the white eyes. Is very cool that they did that, and I think that's neat that they did that. Mayhem Soldier, it's with her cybernetic arm. Again, it's a take on the Winter Soldier. Going Dutch with the mud and the paint. That's a take on Arnold Schwarzenegger from Predator. So I think that's really neat that they did that. And again, these are just little fun things that they did with the characters. and definitely fun to see the different things they did with them. Hollywood, for example, uh, he has he's got a Man of Iron, so he's got a Tony Stark like Iron Man colors with even his goatee, Stillwater original, which is the purple Saints Row color. Too Cool Hollywood. If you go to Franchise Force, and then you got Commander Hollywood, and that's again Commander Hollywood, Captain America take on that, Bound by Law, uh, and standard issue. So it's again these neat little takes on on the characters is really interesting. I really like the fact that they did that. I haven't unlocked the last agent Persephone. Haven't got around to that, but I would like to get her unlocked when I can. Again, Johnny Gat is available in the game. He can play the Gat out of Hell, which is his skin color and stuff from the game. Gat PI. He's got a mustache. It's a take on Tom Selleck's Magnum PI. Johnny Crockett, again, based off Miami Vice. And then a rookie, which is what he looked like when he joined the police force in the South. So, and it's just neat that they did that. So when you have a variety of different difficulties to choose from, there's literally 15 different difficulties, which is crazy. They do I generally play on 2, which is the agent difficulty. It's your standard difficulty or normal. And the game is really fun. It's a shame that there's no multiplayer. It's a shame that they did not have some of the things that I would love to see from a multiplayer standpoint. But but it's not. But it's still just a really fun. It's still a really fun game to play, nevertheless. And I definitely recommend it, because the different agents, once you get them unlocked and you see the differences between them, some teams really complement each other, some don't. So you fight these big boss battles and you gotta fight them in certain, and sometimes your agent on your team will holler out and say, hey, I can do more damage to him because of this, and then you'll switch to him and you realize, wow, that agent actually is doing a better, you can do a better job with them. And I think that's really, really neat. And so some teams work better than others, and it's really fun to have the interaction between them. The enemies you fight in the game, Legion, the peon soldiers and stuff, will actually say your name and say things about you, which is kind of funny. I do like playing as Johnny Gat. He's it's cool to play as a character from Saints Row. He's got a really high jump like Hollywood. He'll actually grab on with a knife, as you can see, and then climb back up. And again, the verticality in the game is interesting. And very reminiscent to me. It's very similar to me as this is a little area you can interact with and go in here and talk to Gremlin. There is a couple places like this, but it's so few and far between in this game. Again, it's practically lifeless. You can interact with her, and I just got a little bit of Gremlin tech, and that's all you get to do. You don't really do anything. Walk in, get a little extra point, and then go about your business. It's just silly the way they did that. There's just not a whole. Again, the city is cool, but it's so lifeless and nothing going on, and there's very little consequences when it comes to the game. But the problem, as you can see just now, one of the problems I also have with the game is as I climb, he'll only do the knife thing once. He won't just keep flipping and climbing, which is something they should have done, had it where he continuously climbs. And that would have been nice. But again, but there's very few negatives to the game versus the positives. I really like the game. Like, I think it's a fun take on a hero shooter, since that's kind of all the rage with games like Battleborn and Overwatch and Paladins, and it seems like that's kind of the thing to do. And while Soul may be lifeless, it's still interesting to actually it's still very interesting to kind of traverse through, though. So, and I do like the verticality of the city, and it's kind of nice. It's gonna be a hard one to get over there.
Whoa, 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 what's this?
and those are spread out all over the place. And you find them to do these major upgrades to your character. And again, it's as a special ability. Every character has a special ability and a mayhem ability, which is like their super. And again, I think, you know, my thoughts on it. Final thoughts on Agents of Mayhem. I don't believe that the game should have launched at $60. I think the game would have been better serviced,
Do me a favor,
you know,
die.
work at $40. Mainly because even though there is a lot of content and there's a lot of missions and there's a lot of this and a lot of side stuff to do, I don't feel like there's enough. I think the multiplayer would have been great in the game. It makes more sense to have multiplayer in the game, in my opinion. Task complete. Target of opportunity. Crafting ready, which is cool. I can craft that. And I think that the game should have done a couple of things just a little bit different. I think when one of the other characters grabs on with his knife or whatever he's going to use, which are all actually neat because it's all part of it. Look, he actually grabs his knife and puts it back in his pocket. I love that, but I think you should just keep grabbing it and climb so you don't lose that momentum. But other than that, and I wish the city had other side things to do, go in a building, play an arcade game, or something on the side to do. You know, like some of the stuff that, even though there isn't a whole lot, like in Grand Theft Auto, you can race, you can do different stuff, and there are things like that in the game as far as racing is concerned, but it's kind of side mission based, and not just a side activity. So that's probably the difference. But if you like hero shooters, and you like games that have some nods to like old school 80s G.I. Joe, which is kind of what this emulates, and with a very fun combat. Like, the combat's fun. Every story mission is really fun. The boss battles are really fun. They're multi-layered. They have a lot of health. It's really, really fun to play. I think the only real missteps is the lifeless city and that multiplayer. Multiplayer would have been so awesome, because if you could have had two of your friends get in here and all three you running around and zipping and firing and at the same time, would have made the game that much more interesting. So that's my thoughts on Agent of Mayhem. Please subscribe to my channel. I hope you like this video. I'm sorry if I'm not like in my usual snazzy boisterous self. It's only because I'm currently suffering with a really, really, really bad toothache, and I'm in a lot of pain. And but I haven't made a video in a while, and I didn't want to let my subscribers down. Please like this video. Please support the Juice Man's Gaming Roundtable, and I'll be back with another video when I come up with a good subject or some thoughts on it. I may be back with some Destiny 2 stuff, since I'm now at the end game, and kind of talk about what goes on at the end of the game versus the and what the different things you can do in the game now, and what's been added with the latest updates and whatnot. I hope Agents Mayhem, though, however, Volition still supports the game. I hope this game is so right for them to continuously add new agents to play as. Would be a blast. I don't know if the game has been successful from a sales standpoint. I hope it was, and I hope they do bring out some more and more stuff for Agents of Mayhem, because I do enjoy the game, and if you can find the game, definitely I would give my recommendation for it. Thanks, gamers, for tuning in to the Gaming Roundtable, and as always, gamers, cheers to you. Good gaming.
What with us saving the world and